The day my wife told me she wanted a divorce, I already knew about her lover. What she didn't know was that I had been playing a game 3 moves ahead. The morning everything changed seemed ordinary. Rain tapped on our kitchen windows, blurring the view of our once beautiful backyard. We had worked on it together, using matching gardening gloves and celebrating with champagne. Now, like everything else between us, it had grown wild and neglected in places. I sat at our kitchen island, scrolling through emails on my tablet while nursing my second cup of coffee. Emily walked in wearing her navy business suit, the one she claimed made her look professional and approachable. I'd always thought it made her look like a flight attendant, but I never said that. There were many things I never said.
David, we need to talk.
Her voice had that practiced steadiness of someone who had rehearsed their lines. I looked up, setting my coffee down carefully on the granite countertop. About...
I want a divorce.
Most husbands would have been shocked. Most would have demanded explanations or begged her to reconsider. But I wasn't most husbands. And Emily wasn't who I thought she was when I married her 8 years ago. Time suspended in that moment. The soft patter of rain against the windows seemed to amplify, each drop hitting with the force of a small explosion in the silence between us. I felt a peculiar hollowness spreading through my chest, even as my pulse quickened. My coffee, previously aromatic and inviting, suddenly smelled acrid and nauseating. 8 years of marriage distilled into 3 words.
I want a divorce.
Is that all? I turned back to my tablet, swiping to the next email as if she'd just commented on the weather forecast. Her composure cracked.
Did you hear what I said? I want a divorce, David.
Her fingers trembled as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her wedding ring catching the light as she did so. I heard you the first time. I kept my voice neutral, detached. I'm just wondering if there's anything else, or if I can get back to work. She slammed her palm on the counter, making my coffee ripple in its mug. A small drop spilled over the edge, creating a perfect brown circle on the pristine granite.
Damn it, David. I'm ending our marriage. Can you at least look at me?
Her voice broke on the last word, and she pressed her lips together to regain control. I raised my eyes slowly, meeting hers. What do you want me to say, Emily? Congratulations on finally making it official? Or thank you for the courtesy of telling me before you move in with Michael? The color drained from her face.
How did you...
No, I finished for her. I've known for almost a year. Her perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat.
Why didn't you say anything?
I shrugged, a gesture crafted to appear casual while concealing the white-hot anger that had been my constant companion for months. I was waiting to see how the story played out, whether you'd choose him or me. Now I have my answer. What I didn't say was that part of me had been holding on to a sliver of hope, stupid, naive hope, that maybe she would end it with him, that maybe we could rebuild from the ashes. Each morning for months, I'd wake up wondering if today would be the day she'd confess, cry, beg for another chance. But as weeks turned to months, that hope had calcified into something harder, more cynical. I became the watcher of my own life, the accountant tallying the lies, the strategist preparing for the inevitable end. The man who still loved her was buried deep beneath layers of protective armor. For just a moment, something raw and vulnerable crossed her face.
It wasn't about choosing,
she said quietly.
I think we both stopped choosing each other a long time ago.
Her words hit hard, but I wasn't ready to face the truth. Instead, I focused on my plans. I had spent months preparing, financially, legally, and emotionally. When Tim mentioned seeing Emily with another man downtown, I didn't confront her. I quietly hired a private investigator, documented everything, and spoke with a divorce attorney. I moved most of our joint savings to accounts she couldn't touch. I digitized important documents and started building my exit strategy. At first, it wasn't out of malice, but self-preservation. As weeks turned into months and her lies grew, I felt something change in me. The man who once surprised her with weekend trips and wrote love poems on sticky notes was gone. I hardly recognized the person in the mirror. He was tracking her alibis with spreadsheets and had a cold look in his eyes.
"I'm not moving in with Michael,"
she said, her voice smaller now.
"That's over."
A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "So you're not leaving me for him? Just leaving me?"
"It's complicated."
She twisted her wedding ring, the 3-carat diamond I'd spent 6 months' salary on because she'd fallen in love with it in the jeweler's window.
"I need space to figure things out."
"Space," I repeated. "Is that what you called it when you were in room 412 at the Marriott last Thursday from 2:15 to 4:30? Her eyes widened. The color drained from her face so rapidly I could almost track its retreat. She gripped the edge of the counter, knuckles whitening.
"You've been following me?"
Not personally. But yes, I've kept track. I stood up, suddenly unable to maintain the facade of indifference. My chair scraped against the floor, the harsh sound fitting my mood perfectly. You know what's interesting about betrayal, Emily? It's not the act itself that destroys you. It's the realization that every memory you cherished is now contaminated. Every anniversary dinner, every inside joke, every I love you, all of it becomes questionable. She looked down at her hands.
"I never meant to hurt you."
Her voice was barely above a whisper. She twisted her wedding ring repeatedly, a nervous habit she'd developed over the years. "No one ever does," I said, moving toward the door. The physical distance between us felt necessary, as if proximity might weaken my resolve. "Your attorney can contact mine. I'll be staying at the Residence Inn on 4th Street until this is sorted out."
"David, wait."
I paused at the threshold, not turning back. The doorframe felt solid beneath my fingers, something real to anchor myself to as the floor seemed to shift beneath my feet. I could hear her breathing behind me, uneven and catching slightly on an inhale. For a fleeting second, I remembered the sound of that same breath against my neck as we danced at our wedding. "You have until 6 p.m. to pack whatever you need. After that, the locks will be changed and the security code updated. Anything left behind goes into storage."
"You can't just—"
"I can, and I will." My voice was steady, belying the hurricane inside me. "Unlike you, I've been planning this moment for months." She took a step toward me, her face suddenly stripped of pretense.
"You want to know why I did it? Why I really did it?"
Her voice trembled with emotion I hadn't seen from her in years. She ran both hands through her hair, destroying the careful styling she'd spent time on this morning.
"Because I've been drowning in this marriage, David. You stopped seeing me years ago. We became roommates who occasionally shared a bed. I tried, God knows I tried, to talk to you about it, but you were always working, always planning our perfect future while ignoring our imperfect present."
I turned to face her, startled by the raw honesty in her voice. "So you found someone who would see you?"
"I found someone who made me feel alive again."
She wiped angrily at a tear.
"It was wrong. I know that. But our marriage was already on life support. We just didn't have the courage to pull the plug."
I walked out, careful to close the door quietly behind me, denying her the satisfaction of a slam. In my car, I sat for a long moment, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The worst part was that beneath my anger, I recognized the truth in her words. When had we stopped really seeing each other? When had our conversations become transactional exchanges of information rather than real connection? I took out my phone and made 3 calls. First, I called my lawyer to start the process. Next, I called the locksmith I had researched. Finally, I called Emma, my assistant at work. "I won't be coming in today," I told her. "Personal emergency. Can you reschedule my appointments?"
Of course.
Emma replied, her voice warm with concern.
Is everything okay, David?
"No," I said honestly, "but it will be." I didn't know then how true those words would prove to be. The aftermath of a marriage implosion has a strange rhythm. There are days when you function almost normally, forgetting for hours at a time that your life has been upended. Then there are days when simply brushing your teeth feels like climbing Everest. I moved through the first month like a ghost in my own life. The Residence Inn felt like home, a place with beige walls and generic furniture. The smell of cleaning products filled everything, from the stiff sheets to the laminated breakfast menus. At night, the air conditioning unit hummed, competing with muffled TV sounds from neighbors. This anonymity was both a blessing and a curse, free of memories but stifling in its temporary nature. I often stared at the textured ceiling, counting the same popcorn bumps night after night. The ice machine down the hall groaned predictably. I worked long hours, ate takeout at my desk, and avoided social interactions that might lead to questions. Emily, however, challenged everything. She said I ambushed her and claimed my financial moves were manipulative and possibly illegal. Her lawyer, a well-dressed woman with sharp eyes, demanded half of everything, even my retirement accounts. They showed up to every meeting in matching navy suits. The click of their heels on marble floors announced them like warning shots. The conference room was thick with Emily's perfume. It was the same scent I gave her on our 5th anniversary. The smell mixed with the metallic taste of adrenaline that hit me whenever we were close.
"She's angry,"
my attorney, Marcus, explained during one of our strategy sessions. He leaned back in his leather chair, steepling his fingers.
"She expected to control the narrative, and you took that power away from her."
"Good," I said, though the victory felt hollow. I traced the wood grain pattern on his desk with my index finger, following its whirls and curves. The tactile sensation grounded me when thoughts of Emily threatened to pull me under. What Emily didn't know, couldn't know, was that beneath my calculated exterior, I was drowning. Each night alone in that hotel room, I'd lie awake replaying our history, searching for signs I'd missed. Had she ever really loved me? Had I ever really loved her? Or just the idea of us? Her accusation that I'd stopped seeing her haunted me. The questions circled like vultures, picking at what remained of my self-esteem. The turning point came unexpectedly, 3 months into our separation. I was working late, the office empty except for Emma, who had stayed to help prepare for an important client presentation the next day.
You should eat something,
she said, appearing in my doorway with a paper bag from the deli downstairs.
You've lost weight.
I hadn't noticed, but looking down at my hands, I realized my wedding ring was now loose, spinning easily around my finger. I still wore it, not out of hope or sentimentality, but because removing it felt like admitting defeat. "Thanks," I said, accepting the sandwich. "You didn't have to do that." Emma sat in the chair across from my desk. At 32, she was 5 years younger than me, with intelligent eyes and a quiet confidence I'd always respected. She'd been my assistant for 4 years. and in the chaos of my personal life, her steady presence at work had become an unexpected anchor.
Can I say something?
She asked. I nodded, unwrapping the sandwich.
You're handling this wrong.
I froze mid-bite. Excuse me?
The divorce. You're approaching it like a business deal gone bad.
Her directness was jarring.
You're so focused on winning that you're not actually processing what happened.
And you're an expert on divorce now? The words came out sharper than I intended. Emma didn't flinch.
No, but I am an expert on watching you self-destruct for the past 3 months. You don't talk about it. You don't acknowledge it. You just work and plot and strategize.
She leaned forward.
That's not healing, David. That's postponing the inevitable crash.
I set the sandwich down, appetite gone. I appreciate your concern, but
But nothing. You need to feel this. You need to be angry, sad, whatever it is. You need to face it.
I am angry, I admitted, the words scratching my throat like sandpaper. I'm furious. Is that what you want to hear?
It's a start.
Her expression softened.
What else?
Something inside me cracked. I'm ashamed, I whispered. The admission felt like stepping off a cliff. I'm humiliated that I didn't see it coming, that everyone probably knew before I did, that I wasn't enough to keep her faithful. Emma shook her head.
Her choices aren't a reflection of your worth, aren't they, though?
The bitterness I'd suppressed for months spilled out. 8 years of my life, Emma. 8 years building a future with someone who could lie to my face day after day. What does that say about my judgment? About my ability to recognize truth from fiction?
It says you trusted someone who didn't deserve it.
She replied simply.
That's on her, not you.
We talked for hours that night. We talked deeply, not about legal plans or splitting assets, but about betrayal, trust, and the scary idea of starting over at 37. Emma listened without judgment, offering neither platitudes nor solutions, just the rare gift of being truly heard. When we finally left the office, the night sky was beginning to lighten at the edges. Standing in the parking garage, I felt lighter somehow, as if setting down a burden I'd carried too long. Thank you, I said inadequately. Emma smiled.
Get some sleep, boss. Tomorrow's another day.
It was the first night in months I slept without dreaming of Emily. Instead, I dreamt of open doors, unfamiliar but inviting, each threshold promising something I couldn't yet name. I woke up feeling that healing isn't just about letting go of the past. It's also about having the courage to move toward an uncertain future. The man who entered that hotel room months ago, armored with anger and calculation, wasn't the same man who opened his eyes to this new morning. Something had shifted, like tectonic plates realigning after an earthquake. The landscape was forever changed, but perhaps, just perhaps, it could be rebuilt into something more authentic than before. As spring gave way to summer, the divorce proceedings dragged on. Emily rejected 2 settlement offers, demanding a trial that would air our private business in public. It was a power play, her last attempt to make me hurt as much as her pride had been hurt when I outmaneuvered her. At least that's what I thought until the day she called me directly, bypassing our lawyers.
Can we meet? Just once, without the attorneys?
Her voice sounded tired, missing the sharp edge I'd grown accustomed to in our legal communications. Against Marcus's advice, I agreed to coffee at a neutral location, a bustling cafe where we'd never been together during our marriage. Emily arrived 10 minutes late, looking both meticulously put together and profoundly exhausted. The contradiction was jarring.
Thank you for coming.
She said, sliding into the chair across from me. Why did you want to meet? She took a deep breath.
Because I'm tired of fighting, and because there are things I need to say to you that don't belong in legal documents.
I'm listening.
I've been seeing a therapist.
She began, fidgeting with her paper napkin.
She's helping me understand some things about myself, about us.
She met my eyes.
I was wrong, David. Not just about the affair. That was unforgivable, I know, but about how I handled everything after.
I remained silent, unsure where this was going.
The affair wasn't about him. Not really.
She looked down at her hands.
It was about me trying to feel something, anything, besides the growing emptiness. We both stopped trying years ago. We built this perfect life on paper, but somewhere along the way, we lost each other.
You could have talked to me, I said quietly.
I tried, in the beginning, but you were always so focused on the next thing, the next promotion, the next investment, the next renovation. I eventually stopped trying.
She gave a sad smile.
That's not an excuse, just the truth, as I see it.
For the first time since I found out, I let myself think about our marriage before the betrayal. I remembered the gradual cooling, the long silences, and the quick kisses goodbye. We had been dying by degrees for years before Michael entered the picture. Why tell me this now? I asked.
Because I'm trying to take responsibility for my part in all this.
She pushed a folder across the table.
This is a new settlement offer. My lawyer doesn't know I'm giving it to you. It's fair, more than fair to you, actually. I don't want to drag this out anymore. I don't want to hurt you anymore.
I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt an unexpected wave of grief for what we'd lost, not just through her betrayal, but through years of mutual neglect. I'll have Marcus look it over, I said finally. She nodded.
For what it's worth, I am sorry, David. Not just for the affair, but for not being brave enough to face our problems honestly before it came to that.
As she stood to leave, I found myself asking, "Are you okay? Really okay?" A genuine smile touched her lips.
Not yet, but I think I will be. You?
I'm getting there. The settlement we eventually reached wasn't what either of us had initially wanted, but it was fair. The house would be sold, the proceeds split. Retirement accounts divided based on when they were earned. No alimony for either party. A clean break. On the day of our final court appearance, I saw Emily clearly for the first time in over a year. Not as the villain in my story, nor as the woman I'd once loved beyond reason, but as another flawed human navigating life's complications. The realization didn't excuse her actions, but it loosened the grip of bitterness that had been suffocating me. After the judge approved our settlement, we stood awkwardly in the courthouse hallway.
So that's it,
She said, her voice strangely small in the marble echo chamber.
8 years reduced to signatures and asset tables.
Not reduced, I corrected gently. Just ended. She studied my face.
You've changed.
Yes. There was no point denying it.
I hope.
She hesitated, then continued.
I hope you find someone who makes you happy. Someone who sees you the way I should have.
Her voice caught slightly.
Someone who reminds you how to be the man who used to write me love poems on sticky notes.
The reference to our earlier, better days caught me off guard. I hope you find what you're looking for too, Emily. She nodded once, then walked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor. I watched her go, realizing that along with the anger and the hurt, I genuinely wished her well. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, I took Emma to dinner. Not as my assistant, not as my friend, but as a woman I had grown to admire and, yes, desire. We ate at a small Italian restaurant where no one knew us, sharing a bottle of Barolo and stories from our lives before we'd met.
When did you know?
She asked as we walked along the riverfront afterward.
That you wanted this to be more than friendship.
I stopped, turning to face her in the glow of the city lights reflecting off the water. Honestly? That night in my office when you called me out on my bullshit, no one had been that real with me in years. I took her hand, marveling at how natural it felt. When did you know?
The company Christmas party 3 years ago.
She confessed with a laugh.
You helped the janitor's son with his college essays. Meanwhile, everyone else was getting drunk on cheap champagne.
I remember thinking,
That's what integrity looks like.
you never said anything,
You were married,
she said simply.
and I respect myself too much to be someone's exit strategy.
And now? I asked, suddenly uncertain.
Now you're not married, and I'm not your assistant anymore since the promotion.
She stepped closer.
Now we get to find out if this is real or just good timing.
Our first kiss tasted like new beginnings and earned wisdom. There was none of the desperate intensity that had characterized my early days with Emily. No need to possess or impress. Instead, there was something steadier, more grounded. A connection built on seeing each other clearly and choosing each other anyway. Later that night, as I walked Emma to her door, I felt a deep realization. I had been healing without even knowing it. The man who once fell apart from betrayal had come back stronger. I became more self-aware and more authentic. This change happened not despite the pain, but because of how I chose to face it. It's been 2 years since that morning in my kitchen when Emily asked for a divorce. A year has passed since Emma and I moved in together. We merged our lives with care and open communication. 6 months ago, I began mentoring men facing similar struggles. I share what I've learned about surviving betrayal with dignity. The infidelity stories I hear from these men often mirror my own, each one a true infidelity story with its own unique pain and path to healing. The scars remain. Trust doesn't come as easily as it once did, and certain memories still have the power to sting. But the bitterness that once threatened to define me has been replaced by something akin to gratitude, not for the betrayal itself, but for the man it forced me to become. To those facing a tough moment, here's my message. What breaks you doesn't have to destroy you. The way forward isn't through revenge or hiding your feelings, though you might explore those paths briefly. The real journey goes through the pain, not around it. Document everything and protect yourself legally and financially. Yes, do that. But also let yourself feel the full range of your grief. Seek help when it feels too heavy. Avoid demonizing or idealizing your ex. Their choices show their character, not your worth. Most importantly, stay open to the idea that what feels like an ending may create space for a new beginning. Healing has its own timeline. It can't be rushed, but it will come when you're ready. The best revenge isn't making your ex suffer. It's reclaiming your joy despite what they did. Build a life so rich that when you think of them, it's with a calm curiosity about someone who once mattered, but who no longer shapes your story. This is your call to change. Answer it with courage, not bitterness. The heart that survives betrayal can heal. It can become wiser, stronger, and more open to deeper connections. I know this because I lived it. The lost love chronicles of my marriage and its aftermath taught me more about myself than years of contentment ever could. The path ahead isn't about winning or losing. It's about getting back the power to feel everything. You'll experience sharp pain, quiet loneliness, and flickers of hope. Trust that you will get through it all. In online forums filled with cheating wife Reddit stories, I found solidarity with others who had walked this path before me. You will not be the same, but you can remain unbroken in the ways that truly matter. If my words resonated with you, share your own cheating stories or healing journey in the comments below. Trust me, your new life will emerge from the ruins of your broken marriage.